And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Joe with the Circuit 123. It is about 10:03 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and this is your third Linux video. And as promised, I have brought a guest on the show who is a Linux guru. Does everything Linux, and and the person's name is Rick Rosinski, and he is the MCSE teacher down at Lions World Services for the Blind, and he is tonight's guest. Say hi, Rick.
Hi.
Alright, well, Rick, why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit about your Linux experience, tell them about your setup at home, and go right ahead.
Okay. I've been using Linux since about 1997. Took a little while to get used to that, to get that going. So I've been switching back and forth between Linux and Windows for about a couple of years. And then finally I was able to get it down pat enough to be fully Linux. But basically, I started with Slackware 3.1, back in the time when you had to compile all your programs, you had to go download the source code, in tarball files, and extract the code, and then run your configuration scripts and your make install, all that stuff, plus edit some of the config scripts. But now all that's gone away now, and package management is now the way to go. And I'm currently using Ubuntu Linux server and Ubuntu Linux desktop, which is it's fully automated. You don't have to really compile any packages anymore, which is pretty nice.
Okay.
I've already had my taste of that. So.
So Rick, when you say compile packages, from my experience with Linux, the little bit that I do have, basically, just to present to the audience. In Linux, when you're installing a program, it can be very different. It can be a very different experience than in Windows. Normally, in Windows, what you're used to is you put the disk in and it runs. That's called auto run, and that is on basically almost every single program that runs today. However, with Linux, sometimes actually, if I'm not mistaken, sometimes you still have to compile it depending on the program. Am I not correct, Rick?
Yeah, it's very rare that you have to do that anymore, but sometimes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so basically the experience now, basically when you compile, it means you have to put all the files in order, and you have to run a compiler, and and Slackware, like I was telling you in my past videos, ladies and gentlemen, is a distribution of Linux, and Slackware is the version that he uses is a very old version now, but back then was actually very popular. Other distributions such as Fedora, Red Hat, there's lots of distributions. Where would you say, because a lot of the users, there's actually this one user who is very pro-Linux and feels that Linux could take over the Windows desktop. I personally don't feel that that's going to happen. I definitely feel there's a place for Linux. I don't know about taking over. What do you think, Rick?
I think it won't take over, but it's definitely going to give Microsoft a shake for their money, though, because Ubuntu, at least, is becoming Ubuntu and its derivatives, like the distribution derivatives have come out. It's getting so easy now that you can just install it. You just take the disk, it takes 10 minutes to install. Partitioning is almost automatic anymore, and then once you get a basic system up, you already got all the Office suites and everything already going. It's just a matter of learning the interface over versus Windows. But at the rate that Microsoft's changing the user interface all the time anyway, it shouldn't be much of a curve for people to just adapt to a new interface.
Okay.
Operating system interface. So Ubuntu is getting would have a good shot. Linux in general would have a good shot because Microsoft keeps changing it anyway on their side. So now it's getting so easy to use, and it's basically down to the point where you don't really have to download any drivers like you do for Windows, and You just install it, you know, and it's already affected most of the drivers, if not all of them.
Now, one of the concerns I brought up, Rick, earlier in my videos is that even though this may be true, I still think one of my main concerns is support. Microsoft, you do have a better support model just simply because you are paying for the product. Because Linux is an open source platform, you're not going to get the same level of support as you would for, you know, as compared to Windows. And the only distribution of Linux that gets decent support is Red Hat, and you do actually have to pay for Red Hat. So you know, basically, you know, Red Hat is actually, in my opinion, I don't know what yours is, I think we may be having to wrap this up soon, just don't want to get carried away, but Red Hat basically is the closest you'll get to a commercial version of Linux being successful in the user environment. Would you say so?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. It is definitely about as easy as the Ubuntu one as well. That's just my preference, because I like the Debian platform better anyway. That doesn't matter. It's still as easy to use with Red Hat and Fedora, you know, together. Right. And yeah, that is the best way to go because of the support that's already there, and plus there's certifications for Red Hat too you can take.
Oh, excellent. Well, Rick, definitely I just want to go ahead and do this short little snippet on Linux, and definitely I look forward to doing more videos with you, Rick. And again, Rick is the MCSE teacher down at Lions World Services for the Blind in Little Rock, Arkansas. So hey, if you guys want to get your MCSE, you know, go ahead and shoot down to Little Rock, Arkansas, and let Rick teach you a thing or two. What do you think, Rick?
Sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you for joining.
Come on.
Thank you for joining Circuit 123. This has been Rick Rosinski and Joe, and I'm signing off.